present today for the session. I would like to welcome you all for today's webinar, How to Scale Up the Way Forward by Brother Mohamed Nassar, just to give you a small brief about Brother Mohamed Nassar, he is the co-founder and director of E2E Excite Marketing and Training Services India Private Limited, having offices in Bangalore, Chennai, Coimbatore, and Qatar. He heads the Excite Training and Consulting Division, which is into corporate training and business consulting. He is highly acclaimed trainer, having conducted over 1,200 training programs in various corporates across India like Vodafone, Pepsico, Hyundai, Audi, Bosch, Nissan, Renault, etc. And international corporates like Galfar, Oreedoo, Jaleel, Strabag, Bank of Muscat, etc. He is the executive director of BNI Coimbatore. He is an ACC Associate Certified Coach and on his credentialing journey to be a PCC Professional Certified Coach from ICF, International Coaching Federation. He is a certified Thomas Profile Practitioner and a balanced scorecard professional. He is a member of JCI, Coimbatore Cosmo, past district Rotrack Representative District 3200. Life member of the National HRD Network and NIPM, a founding member of the Coimbatore Toastmasters Club. Indian JCI awarded him with the Outstanding Trainer of the Year award in 2004. He holds an MBA in Foreign Trade and PG Diploma from IIM Bangalore. I would like to welcome you all for this session, and I hope you enjoyed the session. I would like to hand over to Brother Mohamed Nassar. I hope you enjoyed the session too, sir. Jazakallah khairan. Thank you so much.
Assalamu alaikum, and very good morning to all of you to this webinar. With your permission, I would like to share my screen. All right, it's definitely a privilege to be part of this webinar and to interact with all of you this morning. I'm sure all of us are in a tough mind in terms of our businesses today. It's actually a wrong time to talk about scaling. I'm sure all of you are really concerned about even having some kind of a business to happen, some kind of survival. At this point of time, why do we need to talk about scaling up is what is the question that I had in my mind. But Brother Khalid, who was interacting with me, said that this subject is okay. And I'm sure that you've been part of this webinar for the last 4 or 5 days. And I've also had an opportunity to watch the recordings of Brother Riaz as well as or Miran Saab as well. So it's quite interesting, and I'm sure all of you are filled with a lot of knowledge. The subject that I'm going to talk about today is about how do you take your business to the next level. But before you're doing that, what kind of preparation that you need to have is what I'm going to spend some time on. So today's presentation will have 4 parts. The first part is about my understanding in business, working with a lot of companies, and also studying various organizations, especially the small, medium companies, as well as the large format companies, Fortune 100 companies. What are the best practices that they do? How do they really scale their business to whatever size they are today? And what are the secrets behind all of that? And what kind of a leadership the person who actually drives the company is actually having it. So that's the first part. I wanted to take you through the beautiful formula, which is called an idea, what an entrepreneur need to have. Second part, I'm going to talk about the real growing up, the scaling up part of it. Before you go in terms of growing, what are the things that you need to take care? The third aspect that I'm going to talk to you is about, I'm introducing a very world-class tool before you get into this scaling up format. You just have to apply this particular tool, and if you can answer all this question which is there in the particular tool, then you are ready for your scaling up. So which is actually given by a professor from the US. He also runs a program, a very beautiful workshop on that particular thing. I had an opportunity to be part of that workshop as well. So I will introduce that tool with you all. And the last part, I'm going to talk to you about how at this point of tough times in the marketplace where everything is locked down, and just before 15 minutes, we also heard from our Prime Minister saying that the lockdown is also extended till May 3rd. I'm not too sure how long it's going to be sustainable after that as well. So I'm going to leave you with some of the tools at that point of time in terms of we as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, what are the things that we need to do immediately after Having said that, let's get into the subject as such. So So if you want your business to take to the next level, if your business is in a real proper situation, this is one of the tests that you need to do. Your business has to be in all these formats. It has to have a very clear clarity and understanding. The first thing is about your vision, what kind of vision you have. The second thing is about what are the kind of people that you have in terms of your company to take your organization towards the vision. The third thing that we are talking about is what kind of a strategy that you have. Strategy is nothing but a plan. And what kind of a process in terms of systems and process in your organization that you can have, take your business to the next level. In order to do all these things, you need to look at the data. Like when you get into the car, you look at the dashboard, and the dashboard gives you a very clear picture in terms of what are the status. It shows you the fuel, it shows you the temperature and all of that. It's called the dashboard. The same way, you need to have a business dashboard. And for that dashboard, you need to have certain data. How do you look at your business in terms of what kind of data you're looking at? And with that particular data, how do you keep tracking your organization on a week-on-week basis, month-on-month basis? And for that tracking, what are the things that you need to have in terms of data to track? So this is what is the format in terms of how do you really evaluate your business on a regular basis. Having said that, I wanted to introduce this concept of taking your business into 10 times growth. I'm sure all of us wanted to, I'm sure most of us are in this particular group are students, or entrepreneurs, and very few students maybe. So in terms of taking your business to the next level, everyone would always talk about 10x growth. 10 times can you grow your business? How can you grow your business 10 times more? So if I have to ask you a question, how many of you wanted to make 10 times more money than what you're making today? If you can probably put it in the chat box, and I would probably like to know how many of you are interested in probably having more money. Quickly on the chat box. Yes, something like that. You can put it across. How many of you wanted to grow 10 times more money than what you're making today? Very good, of course. Yes, of course. Somebody said this, of course. Very good. Interesting. So all of us wanted to really scale up our business to 10 times more. Interesting. Wonderful. Right. So I'm going to ask another question. So now that you said that you wanted to grow your business 10 times more, how many of you are really interested in working 10 times harder? Can we have a chat on that as well? Okay. Very good. No pain, no gain. Very interesting. Super. I think this group is really interested in telling about growing 10 times more. But if you really look at the business owner scenario, I come from Coimbatore. Coimbatore is my native place, and I kind of started my career selling Space, the magazine in Bombay, for a textile trade magazine. So I always worked with a lot of textile sectors in the initial stages in the year 1995, 96. And prior to that, I also, during my college days itself, I had some small businesses. So if you really look at the textile sector in Tirupur, I'll give you one example. There are a lot of companies in Tirupur, and Tirupur is one market where the knitted garment export runs into close to about 7,000, 8,000 crores. And I guess in the next 3-4 years, they are looking at close to about 20,000 crores in the next 5 years. So in this particular market, if you go, you see different type of entrepreneurs. There's one entrepreneur, that particular person gets into the office, factory, he opens the office, opens the factory, and he will be the last person to get out of the factory. That's one particular entrepreneur. Whereas the other entrepreneur, if you see, he goes in the morning only for a few hours, and then that's about it. He just have people in his place, he puts his systems in place. In the evening, he goes to the golf club and play golf. But if you look at the first entrepreneur, the business is actually, is it growing? Maybe little percent here and there, but always he's struggling. From morning till evening, he's the only person who's running behind the thing, even though he's got a lot of people in the company, but he is the one, everything revolves around him. Whereas the second time of company that I'm talking about, that company, the growth year on year is actually very high. Last year, they done about 100 crores. Today, they are doing 200 crores. Maybe next year, they'll do 300 crores. But the company is so systematic. So if you really look at it, most of the successful entrepreneur, if you speak to them, they'll always say your hard work, your struggling, everything has to be in the initial stages. The first 10-15 years, you need to really put in your heart and soul, and then that's, you build a system, and then you don't need to work hard. So if you wanted to grow your business 10 times more, you need not necessarily work harder. That's what I'm actually trying to say. So the point I would like to probably talk about one of my greatest inspiration. I like this gentleman called Jack Welch. And Jack Welch is the former CEO for GEG, is one of the best companies in the world until recently. So he says a good business leader create a vision, articulate the vision, and passionately own the vision and relatively drive it to completion. So the role of the leader is the most important thing than anything else. So a lot of people during my training program, they always ask me, sir, which business is good business? I always say there's no business like good business or bad business. Is there any good business? No. Is there any bad business? No. I'm not talking about the legal business, illegal business. I'm talking about a business per se. So the question here is, every business is a good business. It's only the person who drives it makes it best or not. So that means there are people who made money in restaurant. There are people who lost heavily in restaurant as well. So the question of the person who drives that business makes a lot of difference than the business per se. So if you really look at how it all starts, I'm going to get into the first part of my, I told you that I'm going to talk about 4 parts. I'm going to talk about the first part here. The first part revolves around the vision building aspect. So what is that first thing that an entrepreneur need to have is a long vision, a bigger vision. So what exactly vision? I'm sure all of you would have come across many different programs related to this. In this particular vision building exercise that I'm going to talk about, everybody comes up with something or the other. So it's very simple. I'm sure all of you would have bought some 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler, any of those things recent past. The day that you decided to buy a particular brand, it could be a Maruti or it could be your bike or whatever. The day that you decided to buy that particular car, from the very next day, you started seeing that particular car more in that particular road. Why? It's not because of all of a sudden the overnight that company has given more number of cars on the road. No, it's something like we have set in our mind, and there in the mind there's something called reticular activation system. The moment you decided this is what I wanted to buy, the very next day you start seeing that particular car or particular mobile, whatever you want to do. So everything revolves around it. I'm sure you have to look at your business. If you want to scale up your business, you need to look at a bigger vision. So in order to have that bigger vision, what are the things that you need to do? Another interesting person, it's called Michael Hart. He is an author. He's written many books. And he talks about if you wanted to really reach your goal, wherever your business is, if you want to take your life from one level to next level, and in case if you're not able to reach that, there could only be these 3 reasons that you're not able to reach. Whatever may be your vision. Your vision is to build a $1 million company or a $1 billion company. It's called as unicorn today. So whichever company, whatever level you wanted to build, you can build, inshallah. But the question is, if you don't do these 3 things correctly, then you will not be able to do. So what are those 3 reasons? The first reason is limiting belief. What is limiting belief? Our own belief system is very, very strong. I'm sure all of us, most of us are in the forum are Muslims, Islam. We follow the religion of Islam, and everything revolves around belief. We believe, we have to believe in certain things. We have to believe in oneness of Almighty. So the same way, every one of us have got some kind of a belief. So if you don't believe that you cannot achieve what you wanted to achieve, and that is one of the biggest hurdle for you. So it's everything starts with your mind. If you have that visualization done automatically, you will be able to take your business to the next level. So Michael Hart says, if you limit your belief system, that means I cannot do it. That means you will not be able to do it. The second thing that he's talking about is that people have got a lot of belief system. They have they know exactly where they want to take their businesses, but they don't know how to reach there. There's a lack of clarity. So for example, if you see, if somebody is giving me address, I say, brother, why did you come to this particular place? My office is in this Radha Krishna street in Chennai, and you have to just come near the city center. So if people keep talking about it and I keep driving my car towards it and I ask them, hey, I've reached this place, there is a petrol pump, opposite there is this Clarion hotel, right next to that I saw a building. So if I keep on telling the right thing and another person on the other end of the phone, he guides me, yes, you are there, you are there, you are there. But if I feel, okay, I'm on the right track, how will I feel? I'll feel more confident. Whereas on the other side of the phone, the other person says, no, my dear brother, you are on the other road. There's no ATM, there's no petrol bunk. I think you're 2 streets away from that particular street. How will I feel? I'll feel, oh my God, I'm not in the right track. So if you wanted to go or grow your business to the next level, you need to have some kind of clarity. How am I going to do this? What kind of a roadmap? What kind of a milestone? So you need to have a clarity in terms of how are you going to do it. That, according to Michael Hart, is the second reason. The third reason is that you have a lot of resources. Every one of us, alhamdulillah, each one of us are different by our own selves. God Almighty has created differently. We are unique. Our own right thumb impression cannot be similar to the left thumb impression. It's different. So we have been born in this world totally unique. Each one of us have got a lot of resources in ourselves personally. And for a business, you need to have a lot of other resources. What are the other resources? Your company name, your brand name is a resource. Your employees are resources. The financial backup that your company has got resources. The customer is resources. You have a lot of networking. I believe you witnessed a very nice session by Riaz Bhai. He's talking about networking. The whole network that you build is the resources. So the support system is your resources. So these are all resources. But if you don't know how to make use of those resources, that's one of the biggest mistakes. So these are the three things that is very, very important for you to take your business to the next level. So I wanted to actually introduce this concept of idea, which is something which I have worked on it, and I looked at this particular thing. I coined this idea, and I put this across to various companies and figured out how they have done what they have done. So the idea is very simple. The first and foremost thing that we need to have is imagination. Sky is the limit. Every single business owners that you look at it, they've all not started from very big thing. I'm talking about entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are a different breed altogether, because an entrepreneur comes without much of resources. If you look at any of the success story, they've all started from scratch. I was listening to Ahmad Miran Saab's video recording yesterday night, and he was also, I'm so inspired by the story that he's talking about, how he started from a telecom, working as an employee in a telecom, how did he move out, and what kind of resources that he had at that point of time. Like that, if you look at every single resources, one of the very inspiring story that I really like about is Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. A person at the age of 67 without any resources, he had only 2 suit length, 1 car, and then the concept of making that particular chicken, which was taught by his mother. So if you look at any of those things, everybody starts from scratch, and that's how they build around whatever they wanted to build around. So if you really look at it, I want to take you through some of these examples. See, I always admire few business people, business owners in the Middle East, especially in Dubai, Qatar, any of those Gulf country. I love those entrepreneurs, our own brothers from Kerala, brothers from Tamil Nadu. They go there because a lot of restrictions there. They can't run their company 100% in their own name. So much of risk. In spite of that, how do they really take their business to the next level? So if you look at one of the very inspiring story that I always talk about, there is a particular company in Dubai called Western International Group, and there is a particular brand called GEEPAS. That is something which is very famous, and everybody knows about that brand in the Middle East. It's a consumer electronic brand company, and the owner is basically a 10th standard person from Kerala along with their brothers. Today, that company is close to about $3 billion company without any debt. It's a zero debt company. So very interesting company. They also have this hypermarket called Nesto. So we have a good fortune of working with that company in various assignments in terms of taking the company to the next level. But I always admire about this particular brand name called GEEPAS. How did they named this name? So I was asking the owner, Mr. Bashir Bhai, I was asking him about how did you name this brand called GEEPAS? So he said, way back in my initial career, I was having a shop in Bahrain. The name of the shop was Gift Palace. And, my friend took me to China. China was actually booming up at that point of time in manufacturing. I went to China. I looked at all those beautiful products that they were doing. Then I came back to India. I said, okay, I came back to Bahrain. And from there, I thought, why don't I start importing this product from China and start selling? So he started importing the torchlight and wanted to sell it. So his friend said, the sheikh, the Bahrain sheikh said, why don't you go to Dubai? Bahrain market is a small market. You go to Dubai and start big time. So he went to Dubai, put all the stock at the pickup truck, and he started delivering one after the other. And then that's how he started having some kind of a market. Evening, he collects the money and goes on. And everybody knows that once the business is relatively better, you have the competitor to follow. So what the competitor did, the very next week or so, the other person also started following. And the third person came in. At that point of time, Mr. Bashir Bhai decided, I need to have a different name for my product so that people can come. So he went to China, he ordered it, and he came back, and the Chinese guy was continuously calling him, sir, please give me a name so that I can put the sticker. So he was not knowing about what to do. So he wrote that name of the Gift Palace shop and here and there. And finally, he wrote some 10 different names. And finally, he said, okay, something like GEEPAS. He cut from gift, some part of Gift Palace G, and Palace some P, something or the other, and he named it as GEEPAS. and it became very big successful. So today, if you look at it, I'm sure some of you are an MBA graduates here or studied MBA, and there are quite a lot of books on branding. If you look at Kellogg on branding, Stanford on branding, Harvard on branding, all those big institutes have written so many things about branding. Whereas here, the entrepreneur just believes in the gut feeling and gives a name. So what kind of imagination he's got is totally different. He's got this bigger vision of taking the company to the next level. So very humorously, a couple of years back, I asked Bashir Bhai, sir, you know that, in branding, there are bigger books, volumes of books about all that. And it's a very big exercise, but what you have done is totally different. He said, thank God, I did not read all that. I did not look into all that. If I would have known such a big thing, I would have really got confused. So that's how the entrepreneur works around. So if you really look at some of the bigger things, it's all revolves around the imagination. The second part I want to talk about is the drive. Most of the time, one of those question answer session I was actually watching, where Riaz Bhai was talking and somebody was asking about, okay, I keep on failing in business. What do I need to do? So failure is part of business. If you don't know how to fail, you really don't know how to win. I was putting a slide of Jack Welch. Jack Welch just passed away last month. He's a very inspiring person. He finished his MIT from Massachusetts Institute of Technology in the US as B.Tech. And from then, he directly went to GE as a management trainee. And when he came out, he became the CEO. And when he took up the CEO, his company was doing X profit, and he made that profit 200 times more before he actually stepped down. So Jack Welch, once what happened during his school days, he was actually playing hockey with his fellow friends. And one hockey match he failed, he lost. So when he came back, his mother, he was crying at the home, and my mother was asking, why did you cry? What has happened? He said, no, I lost my hockey match today. So the mother said, stupid, if you don't know how to fail, you will not know how to win. So that was one of the powerful lessons that he had learned from himself. If you read his biography, it's a very beautiful book by name, Straight from the Gut, Jack Welch. It's an amazing book. I would recommend, please read it. So every successful person had to go through some kind of a challenge in life. They have to go down and again come back. So if you don't have that kind of a drive as an entrepreneur, because the speed of the engine is the speed of the bogie, if you don't have that kind of a positive energy, your employees will automatically get demotivated, especially at this point of time when we are facing COVID-19. There are so many challenges. Already 45 days business is down. How are you going to survive? How are you going to pay the salary to employees? These are all the questions that you will ask, I will also ask. So the question here is, how are you able to bounce back? The second quality is very, very important. That's called drive. The third thing is about execution. So everybody comes with a lot of plan, lot of idea, but if you don't know how to get into execution part of it, that's where the challenge happens. So again, execution is nothing but building capability in your organization, building capability in your team, so that they can drive and then they can take your company to the finish line. I always admire another interesting story. There is this gentleman called Coach Housep, who's the owner of this V-Guard stabilizer. I'm sure some of you know about this brand, or most of you know about this brand. They also own this theme park called Wonderla. So this gentleman actually started their business in a very small way. He had this stabilizer, he manufactured it. Again, he was delivering it in bikes. In the evening, he goes back, collects the money. And some point of time, he decided to take the business to the next level. So he was talking about a very interesting book, which he wrote about himself, about his biography in terms of how the business works around. So if you look at that, what he was talking about is that you have to build people around every organization. Even today, I was told he doesn't use mobile phone. Every single system that he does is very systematic. He knows exactly when he'll be in one particular office. At 9 o'clock, he's in office. 10 o'clock, he'll be in some other place. So people can reach to him on the land phone. So that kind of a designed, systematic person he is. So what he has done, he has given exact plan to every one of those employees in the team, the managers, so that they can look at in terms of execution. So execution is very, very important. Execution, according to me, and also according to some of this very interesting book called Strategy That Works in Harvard Business Review publication. He talks about strategy in a very simple format, which I like. Execution is nothing but creating a very nice plan and building capabilities around it. The third and most important thing that I'm going to talk about is, like, you have a company, maybe 1 employee, 2 employee, 5 employees. All you need to do, you have a bigger vision. And if your vision is bigger, automatically that vision has to be aligned with your employees of your company. You may be thinking about building a $5 billion company or 5 crore company or 500 crore company, whereas your employee on the Monday morning He will wanted to go and say, sir, today evening I want to go at 5 o'clock to my house. So you have so much of charged up, whereas your motivation automatically goes down because your employee doesn't believe in your bigger picture. So you need to educate them. There are different ways and means you can do that. You can empower them. You can do a vision building program. You can do a vision building exercise along with them. Inclusive decision making concept. There are a lot of workshops can be defined around it. You can work on it. So if you don't align your vision towards the employees and everybody says the single word in terms of, okay, I'm also contributing something for the betterment of the organization, your company cannot go to the next level. So that's the first part of the presentation that I've talked about it. I'm going to get into the second part of it. The second part, I'm going to talk about the growth aspect of it. There is a myth. What exactly is a myth? Myth is a false belief. So the myth is all growth is good. If your company is growing, it's good. The second myth is bigger is always better. The third myth is business must grow or it is die. So if your business is not growing, it's die. These are the words that I'm sure some of you would have definitely heard about it. But what I'm talking about is myth. So what exactly is the reality? The truth is growth can be good or bad. It can be good or bad. Too much growth before preparation can overwhelm people, process, and control. Meaning, if you're not planning for the real growth, you will get into serious trouble with the help in terms of people, in terms of process, in terms of control. How is it going to be? Let's look at it. The truth is, growth can be putting a lot of stress on you. For example, if you have one particular restaurant, a small restaurant, every day it is flooded with so many customers, you are taking care of the business very nicely. But if you wanted to grow, so somebody will say, why don't you start this branch in another place? Without having a proper preparation, you are actually getting another branch somewhere else. Now, the moment you get into another branch, you are only one person here running around the business. You are there everywhere. Now, because you have another business somewhere else, you also have to run there, run here. So what will happen? Your entire focus is scattered between two different restaurants. So because of that lack of time, lack of effort, lack of involvement, you will have so much of challenge in terms of quality controls. Obviously, you're running this business. Every business needs some kind of a working capital. And if you try to play around with it, automatically the working capital required for this particular restaurant will actually take a back seat, and you will get into some serious trouble. So it will put you a lot of stress on the quality, on the financial front. Automatically, since you're not there, you being there personally in the restaurant makes a lot of difference. Everybody comes to you, say assalamu alaikum to you, or say good morning to you, good evening to you, and people are there because they know that you are there and you're looking at every single thing. If that particular table is not attended to, you are immediately calling somebody to go and take a look at that particular table, order for it. If there is nobody around, you will walk near to the customer and ask him, sir, what exactly you want. So if you don't have your presence in that particular time, all the time, you're running between here and there, your customer's value proposition will go. That means your customer will not get what he was getting all these days, and that will probably hit up a huge hit of your company. The third and most important thing is you will be put into different competitive arena. Let's say, for example, you are having a decent kind of restaurant, not very high end in terms of AC, furniture, and all of that. But what will you do? You tend to get into a bigger restaurant. Now that everybody is saying, sir, why don't you go fine dining? Why don't you do this thing? You put a lot of investment on the interiors, false ceiling, centralized AC, all those, the plates and all the ceramics and all is totally different, high end. Everything is so high end. And when you try to have that kind of facility, automatically you cannot price the way that you used to price the previous restaurant. So you will increase the price. When you increase the price, for example, if somebody is dining at your restaurant for about 200, 300 rupees, because of all these value addition in terms of investment, automatically the food will automatically become 1,500. If that particular price, you are actually getting into another competitive segment, because the people can go to a 5-star hotel at that kind of a rupee for a buffet, because they also give you a lot of offer. So you have to be very, very clear about understanding growth before actually getting into it. Okay. So the whole concept I want to talk about is growth is not necessarily equal to profit. Growth requires excess management capacity. It requires a lot of planning before you getting. So the more realistic way of looking at the growth is An entrepreneur has got only very little. He's got very little time. A growth requires a lot of cash outlets. In case if you don't have enough and more money, you cannot afford to grow your business. The more important thing is, if you get into growth mode, your competitive segment will automatically be higher because you're going to compete to a bigger company. And if you're not properly managing a growth, and you will get into disaster and you will die. So how can you really look at scaling up? See, generally people talk about a good product is a successful business. Not all good products are successful, and all not like if you look at all the successful business, the product may not necessarily be that very good, but they look at different things. So if you're looking at good product and the business, there are two different things. A person who's extremely good in manufacturing good products may not necessarily be successful in taking the business to the next level, because each one of us have a different dimension. So we need to understand, in order to scale your business up, what are the things that you need to do. Generally, the saying is a business has to be built around a product. So let's say, for example, a coffee. Setting up a coffee chain shop is more than just making a great coffee. You need to make a good coffee, no doubt about it. But if you wanted to take the business in a bigger scale, larger scale, what do you need to do? You need to do these following things. Number one, you need to have a right place. Your restaurant has to be in the right place. The coffee shop has to be in the right place. You need to have an excellent facility management. You need to have a lot of branding around the coffee shop. You need to do a lot of marketing. You need to have your aggressive sales system in place. You need to take care of your legal, financial, audit, and all those kind of system. And you need to have an excellent vendor to take your business to the next level. And in order to other segments, that once the business is established, what are the things that you need to have? You need to have MIS, the softwares in place. You need to have food handling. How do you handle all those food? You need to have a supply chain management in terms of procuring. You need to do a lot of standardization, and you need to have good people to take care of it. How to hire a right kind of people, what kind of training you need to do, how do you retain, and what kind of services that you need to do. So if you really look at in the food business, especially, I'm sure all of you know about this particular concept called McDonald's. And the founder, Gray Kroc, was addressing a university, and he was asking this famous question, what business am I in? So a few people said, you're in the business of burger. One student stood up and said, you're not in the business of burger, you're in the business of real estate. So it's a very famous question everybody knows. So if you look at, all these things is very, very important. But if all these things will be working only when your coffee is good. So your product is definitely important. More than that, you need to have all these systems in place. So having a great product helps, but it is certainly not sufficient condition for the success of a venture. Okay, now I wanted to ask you this question. Are you growth ready? Before you actually thinking of growing your business and scaling up your business, you need to ask this question. There are two competencies that you need to build. One is your organizational competency. Another one is your personal competency. Now, what are the personal readiness, institutional readiness, organizational competency or personal competency, or personal readiness, organizational readiness? In terms of personal readiness, you're talking about passion, commitment, willingness to delegate, deal with. I'm sure all of these subjects you would have dealt in the last 3-4 days. When it comes to institutional readiness, you need to have a business model. Your business need to be process driven. You need to have a lot of people around it. You need to have infrastructure put in place. You need to have a lot of resources in terms of finance, and you need to have partnership or franchisee model, whatever you're looking at. And then you need to have a brand pull, and you have a plan A and plan B. So see, people generally misunderstand the concept of scaling up. Scaling up revolves around, you need to have that one thing correct. Once your one particular outlet is successful, then you can scale it up to big level. Without that one particular 100% zero error, the people talk about zero error. Now, if your one outlet is 100% zero error, that's when you create a model around it. That's when you start putting place process around it. That's when you start taking the business and giving a business model to somebody else. See, basically, if you look at the American way of doing business, like, for the last 7 years, we own the franchisee for BNI in Coimbatore, and we work with this American company. So we also regularly travel to the US, attend conferences, meet a lot of people around there. So I've been very fascinated with the American way of doing business. So the American way of doing business is very simple. They start a company, they build the company, they grow the company, they scale the company, and they sell the company. That's it. So right from the day one, they are preparing their business in such a way it's 100% zero error, and all kind of questions answers are given. So that is what we need to be looking at. So if you don't build one business properly, you cannot take the business to next level. So I'll give you another classic example. I'm sure all of you know about this company called Walmart. Like if you look at the history of Walmart, it took almost 7 years for them to establish one particular outlet. The next 25 years, they've established 35 outlets. So one outlet, 7 years, 25 years, 35 outlets. On the 26th year, they started 1,000 outlets. That is what my dear friends is talking about scaling up. So the question here is, you have to make sure that one particular business, one model is very, very successful. And then you have to work towards duplicating that model. So that's what I'm talking about, the organizational readiness. I was talking about this particular gentleman called Edward D. Hess, and he has written this beautiful book called Growth to Greatness. And he also runs a particular workshop on this particular university online course. And he has introduced this amazing tool called Growth Risk Assessment Tool. It's about 14 different questions. I wanted to actually run you through this question. These are all very simple questions. Before you actually get into any business, before you wanted to take your business to the next level in terms of growth, you need to be doing this really exercise very, very religiously. This question is very simple. The first question is about, why should you grow? Why are you growing? I think brother Riaz was talking when he was talking about the presentation. He was talking about a concept called Start with Why. There's a very interesting video by Simon Sinek. Go to YouTube and you type with Start with Why. There is also a very interesting book on the same name. So he's talking about golden circle. So why are you doing what are you doing? Edikaga you wanted to grow your business. Why you wanted to grow? You are comfortable every day. You are making money. You don't have any bank commitment. You are enjoying life. Things are going better. But if you feel that I want to grow because I want to be known to the people around it, I want to give opportunity to a lot of people, I want to create a brand, it's up to you. So ask yourself this first question, why you wanted to grow. Second question is, how will you grow? Okay, now that you know why you wanted to grow, how are you going to grow your business? What kind of a mechanics you have? Do you have an opportunity to grow your business in terms of taking your own money and putting multiple branches? Or you want to look at a franchisee? What kind of business you are into? Are you into manufacturing? Are you into trading? Are you into services? You ask yourself, in this particular business, what worked all around the world? How can I grow? How other people have grown? What are the best practices that I can take from the industry? So that's the second question that you need to ask. The third question is, how much should I grow? People generally talk about, I've been part of various webinars time and time again. So everybody talks about the global recession. Everybody talks about the market is going to hit very, very badly and all of that. But if you really look at the global forecast, the global economy, the whole business in the world is somewhere around $87 trillion, 2019. So if you look at $87 trillion is the business all of us put together. So people forecast say that Europe is going to go minus 6% this year. America is going to be minus 4% this year. China is going to be 1% positive. India is going to be 2%. That means we are not still that very bad scenario. We still can grow 2% higher compared to the last year. But that's a lot of things. So if you ask yourself, you're not going to grow. You have only one offices in one town. Maybe you have 3 offices. What kind of a growth you are looking at? Are you looking at 300 offices or 3,000 offices? So you have to have that clarity. It's not something that just like that you can plan your growth. So third thing is, how much can you grow? How much should you grow? The fourth one is, how much growth can you afford? I told you, my dear friends, if you have one restaurant and you're not able to handle that properly, and if you dilute your money to other people, and that money is not your money, you borrowed from the bank, or you involved some investors from outside, and you promise them extra profit. You know how much profit you get. But what do you do generally? For our own Muslim brothers in a lot of businesses, we don't believe in borrowing money from the bank, which is a good thing. It has to be zero debt. So instead, what do? We go borrow money from friends and tell them, you give me this much of lakhs, I'm going to give you 15%, 16%, 18% profit without even doing homework of your business. So what will you do? After 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, you will struggle. You will not be able to pay back the profit that you assured to your friend. So what will you do? You involve somebody else, collect the money from them and give it to this brother. So that's not the right way to do. So how much growth can you afford in terms of money, people, and other things? The next question is, do we have enough people in our company to take care of our growth? How many employees do we have? How much of growth can we really afford? The next question I want to talk about is, First, I'm asking about, do we have enough people? Second question I'm asking about is, do we have the right people? Because you always need the right people, not every people. You know, the question today is very simple. Everybody you conduct interview, I'm sure all of you would have done interviews to hire people in your company. And people come today with so much of preparation. They go to YouTube, they watch all those interesting questions, interview, and they come and face you. And I'm sure there's a very famous question that you ask: 5 years from now, how do you see yourself? Automatically, the candidate will say, sir, I want to sit in your chair, sir. You will say, oh my God, this is the kind of person that I wanted to hire. But unfortunately, after 3 months, you realize, oh my God, I made a stupid decision. So the question here is how to hire the right kind of people for your company. He may be the best in the industry, but that best person cannot be fit into you. You have to build people which will fit into your company, your culture, your style of working. So figure out, how do we have the right people? Do we have the hiring and transit training process? You hire a person. Do we have the right kind of training? I was talking about McDonald's. They have this very interesting research which tells you every single year in McDonald's, the attrition rate is 200%. That means a person joins in the company, and within 6 months, all people leave, another entire people are new people for 6 months. That means the 200% is attrition rate. How is it? Because most of the McDonald's outlet, if you go, they're all part-timers. They go to the college in the morning, come back and work in the evening. After the work gets over, you leave. So what is the best thing in McDonald's? They have something called University of Burgerology. What is University of Burgerology? That is their training and development center. Anybody goes into the company, they get to train for about 30 days before they put into any store. You and I wouldn't have any difference at all. You go to McDonald's for the first time, go to the McDonald's for the second time, the person who's sitting there is totally different, but they're going to ask you the same question. You and I will not find any difference. So what kind of hiring methodology you have? What kind of training process that you have? That's the seventh question. The eighth question is, do we have adequate financial controls? Do you know exactly what's happening in the business? See, generally what people tell, I've been working with so many entrepreneurs across the Middle East and India, people don't have much of control about what's happening in the business. Everybody will know, okay, sir, நிறைய பிசினஸ் பண்றேன், நிறைய காசு வருது, நிறைய காசு போகுது, நான் வருஷத்துல எவ்வளவு சார் லாபம் பண்ணீங்க? He will say, இவ்வளவு லாபம் இருக்கு சார். எங்க சார் அந்த பணம்? தெரியல சார், ஆடிட்டர் தான் கேட்கணும். ஆடிட்டர் என்ன சொல்லுவாரு? So the question here is, money comes, money goes. You don't know where exactly, and you're not also taking that money. You are putting a hard work, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Every year, are you taking that money back from your business? You don't know where the money is. So the question is, you need to have complete system understanding of finance in terms of where the money goes, where it comes, what kind of a damage it happens if I recruit one person extra. ஒரு 5000 ரூபாய் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா சம்பளம் கொடுத்தா உடனே நம்ம பாட்டம் லைன் ப்ராஃபிட் அண்ட் லாஸ் அக்கௌண்ட்ல எப்படி ஹிட் ஆகும்? யூ நீட் ஹேவ் அப்சல்யூட் கண்ட்ரோல் ஆன் தி ஃபைனான்ஷியல் ஸ்டேட். தி நெக்ஸ்ட் क्वेश्चन இஸ், டு யூ ஹேவ் adequate quality controls? ஒரு ரெஸ்டாரண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றீங்க, இன்னொரு ரெஸ்டாரண்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றீங்க, ஒரு கிஃப்ட் ஷாப் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றீங்க, இன்னொரு கிஃப்ட் ஷாப் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றீங்க, ஒரு மேனுஃபேக்சரிங் பிளான்ட் ஸ்டார்ட் பண்றீங்க, இன்னொரு மேனுஃபேக்சரிங். Do you have the right kind of quality control to have this thing? Because customer is very difficult to get, and once the customer have got a bad experience, they're not going to come back to you again. So quality is very, very important. The 10th question is, how the growth will create risk? நீங்க grow பண்றதுனால என்னெல்லாம் risk நீங்க face பண்ணுவீங்க in terms of company culture? Culture is nothing but how do you make things in your company? The second thing is, because you are growing big, will it affect your customer service? Will a customer experience will be, what is customer experience? ஒரு customer உள்ள வராரு, அவங்க எப்படி ரிசீவ் பண்றீங்க, how the customer is treated, how the customer is going through the entire process, how the customer is paying and walking out. So the entire has got an experience. Today everybody goes to a mall not to buy. It's a complete experience management. They go, they eat food, they buy something, they go for a movie. All that happens in a mall. So it's a complete experience is what people are looking at. In the business பண்றதுனால நம்ம cash flow, how it is going to affect? You are growing. The grow பண்றதுனால ஒரு புதுசா grow பண்றோம், புதுசா ஒரு branch போடுறோம், புதுசா ஒரு outlet create பண்றோம், புதுசா ஒரு manufacturing base create பண்றோம். அதுக்குண்டான காசு எடுத்துனே immediately you are not going to get it. It's going to take about 3 months, 6 months, 1 year time. So do you have that kind of a patience to wait? How are you going to manage the cash flow? Cash flow is very, very important. Supply chain, raw materials, how are those supplies given? How is the distribution and delivery is happening? What kind of a financial safety net have? What is your level of control? Everybody should know this. I can only stretch this much. This is my control. A loss of 1 crore I can manage. A loss of 2 crore I can manage. A loss of 5 crore, will I be able to manage? No. So you need to have your own safety net. So that's the 10th question. The 11th question is, you have all these risks that you have. Do you have clarity in terms of how to reduce those risks? If you have to reduce those risks, how will you do it? The next thing is, Do you have adequate daily information about what's happening? I've talked about the dashboard at the beginning. Do you have every single day what kind of information that you have to get? Are you getting every day? Every day, what information you need to get? Every month, what information you need to get? Every week, what information you do you have that kind of a process in place? Who will help you to monitor and manage such big risk? You have bigger risk. Is there any process that you have? Do you have any checkpoint in terms of people, outsiders, consultants, software, ERP? How are you going to monitor all these things? The next question. The last question is, how do we need to pace the growth? You wanted to grow your company. Today you have one outlet. I wanted to grow 300 outlets, but I'm going to do only in a phased manner. So this time I cannot grow. Say, for example, you are driving. You want to go from one place to another place. You have to reach 100 kilometers. You can time it in 1 hour. You have to drive at 100 kilometers fast, which is not safe, which is very risky. So you have to plan it in such a way. If I have to go from one place to another place, how can I pace? What kind of a speed that I can to do? So if you don't answer these 14 questions, please don't get into growth mode at all. Okay, I was talking about 10x growth. If you wanted to have 10x growth, you need to have 10x mind. What is 10x mind? Especially in today's scenario, everybody is talking about growth. Nobody has seen such a kind of recession in the world. I'm getting into the last part of my presentation. So nobody has seen this such a kind of a challenge in my entire lifestyle or in their previous generation's lifestyle. There are different recessions happened. Yesterday, I was actually talking about this in another webinar. So I did a research to figure out how many recessions happened, what and all happened. There was a recession in 1623 because in Netherlands, you know about it's very famous for the tulip flower, and you must have seen all this Bollywood and Hollywood movie song sequence behind the tulip flower. So that tulip was one point of time was very high price fetching. So people started trading onto it. The stock market was hyped and speculated, and that boosted out to big time. And there was a huge crisis in terms of financial. Started from Netherlands. That was in 1623. Later on, people talk about 1929, which is the Great Depression. That time we had the toughest recession for the entire world. And another major crisis people talk about is the 2008 financial crisis, which is from the subprime lending in the US. So all these crises put together, how do people manage? We as an entrepreneur, especially the entrepreneur community, is not started because of some government support. It's not started because of somebody had funded. The entrepreneur community is different, especially the MSME sector. In today, there are about 6.5 crore MSME in India. 6.5 crore MSME in India. Out of the 6.5 crore MSME in India, the research is telling the next 3 months is going to be very crucial, and close to about 20 to 25% people will leave the business because they'll bankrupt. They don't have money to fall because the liquidity is one of the major concerns. At this point of time, you as an entrepreneur, what kind of a mindset that you need to have is you need to be very aggressive. Don't get into the negativity. Don't watch the TV. Don't watch WhatsApp. These are all negativity. Every day you're getting only negativity. What is the point getting into this negativity? Absolutely no way you can do it. If you're internally not happy, you cannot take your business to the next level. You can't spread the happiness outside. So you need to build the 10x mind. You need to do, if you want to do 10x mind, what you need to do? Again, I want to tell you about this very interesting book called The Productivity Project. Chris Bailey is an author. He went to a resort for 1 year in a forest, and he was thinking, how can I improve my productivity? So he's telling, earlier days, people used to talk about time management. But what he is saying is you need to manage your time, you need to manage your energy, and you also need to manage your attention span. The problem for all of us right now is distraction. So if you control these three things, you will be able to come to the next level. When I'm talking about distraction, this is another interesting book called Irresistible. Here, Adam Adler talks about all of us, you, me, anybody in the world today, we have number one problem is distraction. You know, this Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, everything is distracting you. You can't even get into the flow. So you need to do at this point of time, remove all these distractions, start focusing some of the interesting things that you need to do. There are three types of entrepreneurs in the world. 90% of them actually focus on the day-to-day problem. 9% of the people focus on the strategy. What is tactical? What is strategy? There is a fire in the office. You go in the morning, you sort all those problems, go back in the evenings thinking that you've solved the problem. Next day morning when you come, again, there is another fire somewhere else. So your business is actually into day-to-day challenges. You're not thinking about growing your business. In order to grow your business, you need to have a team around you. So in the world, if you look at it, 90% of the entrepreneurs are actually fighting day-to-day challenges. 9% of them actually look at strategy. There's only 1% in the world who's a rarest combination. What is that 1% of the people do? They come up with big idea. I started with imagination, drive, and execution and alignment. They come up with a big plan. What need to be done? Before they get into any action, they go through some systematic plan, why their company existing, and ask those questions. And the third thing that they do, the 1% entrepreneurs, they're absolutely disciplined in terms of what they have to do, how they have to do, when they have to do, how are they spending their time, whom are they spending their time with, and all of that. And finally, they have this attitude called never say die. They are determined. They always take their extra mile and go to the business to take care of it. So, my dear friends, if you wanted to take your company to the next level, you need to commit yourself. What is commitment? Commitment is nothing but having a clear-cut, measurable target with deadline. It's something like a progress report that we get in our school. So you have to have a measurable result with the deadline is a definition for commitment. So I wish all of you all the very best. Have a clear vision, have a 10-year target, have a 3-year picture, and then 1-year plan. Absolute plan in terms of what you need to do. Finally, I want to leave you with this interesting thing. Everything that we do in our life, is because of some compelling reason. Somebody has forced us to do. We are sitting in the house today because there is a compelling reason we cannot go outside. Why? If we go outside, what will happen? We will die. I want to leave you with this story. There was this interesting accident happened it was a fire accident. It's not a very interesting. I say interesting because none of the people died. 300 people in a passenger from Trivandrum to Dubai in Emirates flight about 2 years back. I'm sure you would have read it in the newspaper and television. Before the last person could get out, by the time the last person could get out of the aircraft, the aircraft went into a major fire accident and all of them were saved luckily. Now what actually happened? Within 180 seconds, 300 passengers from the aircraft was deplaned. So my friend who's in Dubai, his uncle was also part of that travel journey. So he was very humorously talking about something. Close to about 300 passengers in that aircraft, close to about 250 of them were Indians. Luckily, Indians, before they even put the seatbelt sign, automatically they'll get up and be ready. Because of their ready, they were able to save that extra 2 minutes, and that's how all of them could come out of it. Jokes apart, my dear friends, 180 seconds, 300 passengers came out of the aircraft because of the simple reason they are concerned about their own respective life. So if you have a compelling reason to take your business to the next level, and if you are determined to it, I'm sure with the guidance of Almighty, you'll be able to take the business to the next level. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity, Khalid Bhai and Jubrin, for giving me this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to interact with our people and take them through what they have to do. These are all my humble opinion in terms of what can be done. And I'm sure, and I wish all of you all the very best. Inshallah, your business will definitely take to the next level. Over to the moderator.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for your fabulous session and extremely valuable piece of advice. It's been extremely detailed and with a lot of experience from your side, mashallah. So I would start with the question and answer session. So all the people who have questions, you can post your questions in the question and answer segment. We have 15 minutes max to take questions. So for the next 15 minutes, whatever questions comes our way, we will take. So the first question would be, Assalamu alaikum, I'm running a furniture manufacturing company in the Gulf for the past 15 years. Successfully, unfortunately, I went to a big loss last year and struggling now. How can I overcome, especially post-COVID-19 business challenges? Please advise.
So my dear friend, the times ahead is going to be not very easy, especially the Gulf is one of the countries which is going to really face tough times in the future. According to the economics forecast and all the experts saying that, in 2008, the whole world was going through a tough time, especially the Gulf countries. According to PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is a consulting firm, they are forecasting close to about 11% degrowth in the Middle East market. So I'm afraid I don't have a very happy news for you. But if you really look at in terms of your company, you need to ask yourself, where are you? You have to just focus in terms of stopping your bleeding. So when I say stopping your bleeding, please speak to some of the financial people, or if you can take some external help from somebody, look at your company and first figure out, where are you losing money? You said that you're losing money, and you're also saying that manufacturing is where you're based. One of the problems in the Middle East is the rents are very, very high, especially in a furniture business. Whether you're into retail or into manufacturing, you need to have extra space. Those extra space is actually going to be huge amount of money in terms of rental. So the first suggestion for you would be, just start looking at how can you cut down on your fixed expenses. Okay, so that's where you stop you will be bleeding. So get an help from a real good financial expert or somebody who's done some good thing in in your particular business, or any expert in terms of financial consultant, and just figure out how can you cut down on the fixed expenses as soon as possible. So that's the only thing that you need to be taking care of it right now. Another 6 months, 8 months time, according to me, in my humble opinion, Middle East is going to be very, very tough.
Okay, sir. So the next question would be, one gentleman says that excellent session, mashallah. Can you explain the MACD is a real estate business example you said in the presentation?
All right. So see, if you really wanted to know more about that particular story of McDonald, you can read through Ray Kroc, is the guy who actually taken the McDonald business to the next level, because the McDonald as such was not founded by him. There are two McDonald brothers in California. They have a small restaurant, and they were running it. And Ray Kroc was actually selling milkshake machine. So he was going through a tough time. His business was not taking across anywhere. So what did he do? He was actually finding out why one particular person was actually buying more milkshakes from that particular restaurant. So he traveled to California, figured out what happened in that restaurant, and that's how he looked at the business that's happening, because there is a particular model, the McDonald model, which they were doing, because they have a system for everything. Now, generally in the restaurant business, in the cooking business, the consistency of the taste is very, very important. So if your mother cooks, my wife, or whoever it is, they can't give one day that the food will be very tasty. The next day, it may not be that tasty. You can't have a consistency. So whereas in restaurant business, the consistency is very, very important. So he liked the consistent idea there. So he convinced the McDonald brothers, and that's how he took the first franchise outside, and they grow big time to the thing. So what Ray Kroc, this was actually in one of those interviews in one of the B schools in America. So if you can even Google to YouTube, you can get that exact video where the American university students are asking him what business you were in, and he was asking this question, and he said, I'm into the real estate business. The point that he was actually trying to say is, because McDonald's is all about location. Wherever you go, you find the McDonald's location is amazing. So his focus was entirely on the place that he's looking at. So, and then most of the places that he has tie up with some local landlords, he built the loan, even though the franchisee will be somebody else, the land will be owned by him. So he was looking at in terms of, he is not all that good in terms of making burger. He says in that interview, your grandmother can make much better burger than me, but my focus is not about making burger. My focus is all about something else. You remember during my presentation, I talked about coffee shop, and if you want to establish a coffee chain, what are the things that you need to do? So he was focusing on the other part of it, not exactly on making burger. That's how he was explaining. It's actually his explanation, not mine. Thank you very much.
So the next question would be, could you please elaborate on personal readiness? What are the most important things we need to focus and change?
See, like everybody else, I'm sure you would have come across a lot of presentations yesterday, day before yesterday, and all of that. And a couple of videos, I was also able to watch it. And these are things which continuously comes in. So every person need to have certain kind of a lot of basic stuff. You need to be, discipline is one of the things that you need to do. You need to be a better communicator. You need to have a good salesman attitude in yourself. You need to learn the skill of persuasion, because you need to sell your dream, sell your vision to your employee first, and to the other people, and to the customer. So these are some of the qualities that you have. I don't know whether you have attended any of those previous programs in the last 3-4 days. If not, please watch those videos. Those are all amazing lessons to be a personal readiness fighter.
Mashallah. So the next question is, thank you for your wonderful session. Is it the right time to get into an e-commerce business?
Of course, yes. See, the whole world is actually transformed to digital in the last few weeks. I'm sure all of us know the reason that we are talking to each other today is because of this facility called Zoom. If not this Zoom, then I don't think that we would have probably interacted with all of us right now. So if you really look at, there was a town hall meeting in NDTV wherein the former economic advisor Arvind Subramaniam and CEO of Cisco, all of them were there part of that town hall meeting. In that, the Cisco company's Indian CEO, he was talking about a very interesting fact. The last 3-4 weeks, the kind of transformation that happened online in terms of video conferencing, that alone he was talking about, was very high. And he was talking about billions of seconds or billions of minutes in terms of the meeting happened online. So if you look at, and he was very interesting giving in this fact, the number one country in the whole world which had used internet to the maximum, number one is US and number two is India. So the transition of getting into the technology is very, very important. And according to me, even this post-COVID scenario, if you look at it, after a few months, it's going to take a few more months to things become the business as usual state, at least 6 to 8 months time. So it's a good time to get into online. If you already are in online, it's a good time to be part of it, especially dealing with the essential services, because those are the things which is actually going to take your business to the next step.
Okay, so the next question is, if I'm aiming for growth over a period of time, I'm getting tensed. What advice would you give?
So what do you mean by that? I didn't get the question correctly.
Like when he's aiming for growth over a certain period of time, he gets more stressed and tensed, looking forward for that growth. Is there any particular way to manage it? Is what he's asking.
Generally, people get tensed. All of us get tensed because we don't have much clarity. If you look at it, everybody wants to grow their business. Everybody wants to take their life to the next level, but nobody knows how to actually go about doing it. That's what the clarity part comes into. So if you go back to my presentation, I was talking about Michael hired 3 reasons. Number one is the belief system. You need to have faith in Almighty, faith in yourself, and take your business to the next level. The second thing is you need to have a clarity in terms of where you're doing. So anything that we're not very clear about it, we will not be able to talk about it. Whether it is speaking in front of public, whether you're going to meet somebody and talking to them, you're not doing anything better because you're not very clear, half-baked. Whereas if you know more and more how to go about doing it, you will be better informed. It's very simple. If somebody asks you what is 2 plus 2, all of us will say 4. If I say 5, will you agree? No. Because you're absolutely clear about the answer. 2 plus 2 has to be 4. So the same way, if you want to take your business to the next level, you need to be very clear about what is your current standing in terms of business, what are the challenges that you're facing, what is the brand about your company and brand standing, what is the, you need to be brutally honest. You know, there's a gentleman called Jim Collins. He's written this beautiful book called Good to Great. I would also recommend you to read that book as well. So he tells, if you want to take your company to the next level, you need to be brutally honest. What is brutally honest? வெக்கப்படாம கவலைப்படாம ஒத்துக்கணும், உண்மையை ஒத்துக்கணும். இதுதான் என்னோட பொசிஷனுங்க. You need to be very, very open, blunt, frank. So அந்த மாதிரி நீங்க அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் பண்ணிட்டு where you are, I mean, you have to be very, very frank. And once you are very clear about where you are standing, where you need to be, all you have to do is I've given you this wonderful tool, 14 questions you need to ask. There's enough and more research done on that. With that background only, he has written that book. I've also attended that course for about 2 months and I've got a certification on that. And I've tried this for about 10 years. I've tried this tool everywhere else and it works beautifully. All you need to do, if you are prepared with this 14 questions, you will be more confident and you will not get tensed.
Understood. I'm a student and I'm aspiring to go forth with a techno managerial course for my future. Can you give inputs on such? Thank you.
See, basically, as far as the student is concerned, there are a lot of things revolves around what is your appetite and what kind of aptitude that you have. So unless until you are very clear about what actually motivates you, what is that you're passionate about, I will not be able to give you a lot of things. So if you ask me, my undergrad was actually computer science, but later on I did not find that computer science was that motivating to me because I became so socially active. I joined in road track. I became a road track governor, BRR, 120 clubs. I became a JC member. I started talking a lot. So I don't find interest in sitting in front of a computer. All my classmates, there are about 35 of us in my class. Close to about 30 of them are in the US, in Silicon Valley, Singapore. All of them are in IT. Only 6, 7 of us are not in IT. We are in business. So the question here is, you need to ask yourself, what is you're passionate about? Is something that you have to do just for the sake of doing? No. You have to ask yourself, what is that you're passionate about? And then you get into it. But now that you're studying, you get into some 2-3 work, especially when you're doing a PG, especially on the management front. I would always strongly recommend work for 2 years and then get into MBA. Because you will have a much more clarity in terms of how to look at the business in a different perspective.
Understood, sir. The next question is, I'm running a flex printing advertising business. As I try to expand my business by taking various contracts from various companies, everyone doesn't pay the full amount. Many companies keep balances, which are a consistent loss for me. Can you please say how can I overcome it?
See, my dear friend, I'm into, basically, I wear multiple hats. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. So I'm also a salesman for my company. So a lot of things I do. So if you look at what kind of business am I into, I'm into the business of corporate events. We do launches. A company is called E2E. We have office in Chennai, Bangalore, Coimbatore. So we do a lot of events for bigger corporate companies, whether it is a launch event or the product presentations and things like that. We also have another division which takes care of the exhibition interior designing. So we design and we execute B2B fairs, booths across the country, and that's what is our major business. So if you ask me today, I'm the one who's actually very, very badly affected this business because the next 4 months, all my events and exhibition is cancelled. So I've been working with all these fixed printing unit guys for a very long time. One of the problems that you guys will face is the competition because 20 years back, flex printing was considered to be one of the very high kind of a business. Today, if you look at the flex printing unit, the square feet is very, very less. So when you work with anybody at this point of time, one of the things very, very important for all of us is that we have to be very, very careful about the cash that we are managing today. Because if you look at during the recession time and the last so many recessions that happened in the world, close to about 40 different times, 3 major recessions is what I was talking about. And all of that, there are 4 things that actually the company will look into it. So if you look at, there was a study done by McKinsey, 4,700 companies during the recession. How many of them have actually bounced back? How many of them have died after the 2018 recession? So they were talking about one thing, a company which is more leveraged, that is, the company has got more bank loans, more money to pay. Those are the companies into very, very dangerous situation. The second thing that they were talking about is, at this tough times, you need to be more aggressive, you need to be more focused, and a lot of other things. I'm not getting into the subject, that subject is different. So what I want to tell you is, you have to be very, very careful about choosing your clients, number one. Number two, just because somebody else is offering credit, you don't have to offer credit, because my dear friend, your business is very, very challenging. And most of the vendors who work with people like you, they will give you a business as long as you don't ask money. The moment you ask money, they will switch the vendor and they'll go. There are 10 different people ready to do that. So you have to ask yourself whether to make your business busy or to make money. Because there's a very interesting saying which says, anonymous, I don't know who said this, but it's very interesting. It says, any damn fool can start a business, but it requires genius to make money. So that geniusness is all about the financial discipline. So at this point of time, I would strongly recommend, you don't do anything next 6 months, 3 months, no problem. Go sit with somebody. All the person who have to pay you, go sit in front of him, collect the money.
Excellent advice, sir. So next question is, I have planned to open a textile shop in my hometown and now stopped due to COVID. Plan to start after 6 months. Is that correct, or what's your opinion?
You need to wait and watch, because at this point of time, the consumer also would have changed. Like before COVID and right now, after the COVID scenario, the whole spending pattern of the customer will also be totally different. Because if you see anybody today, including you and I, all of us would have wished to have more money in the bank today. I'm sure all of you will agree with me. Yes or no? If you feel yes, then you put it in the chat box, right? So the question here is, all of us would definitely wanted to have more money at the bank. So today people are so concerned about not having money. Nobody has ever thought about such a kind of a lockdown had happened. And today, this problem is not your problem. It is not my problem. It is the whole world's problem. And everybody is having one single problem, which is Corona. So at this point of time, people always would have wished and pray. We have never seen such a kind of lockdown in our entire life. 60 days, 100 days without any revenue, zero revenue. How are we going to sustain it? So at this point of time, money, cash is the king. So all the consumer who's going to come back again, it will take a little longer for them to spend on things which is not required. They will spend definitely on grocery. They will definitely spend on some of the essential things in terms of health. Whether they will go out and buy some luxury stuff, they will definitely buy dress, but they may not buy high-end dresses, bigger brand. So you need to wait and watch. That is my advice. So I mean, there's nothing wrong in terms of you need to go and study the particular market where you're going to have a retail outlet, what kind of retail outlet, what is your difference compared to other people, why should a customer come and buy from you, how are they buying, how much are they buying. You need to do a lot of research before you get into it. But if you can probably wait for some more time before even proceeding that, if you want to start a retail outlet in 6 months time, that means you would have already finalized the land or the retail building. You need to do interior, you need to do a lot of other stuff. So at this point of time, when the cash is really a tough time, I would not recommend you to put into any bigger capital to any new business right now. You just wait for 6-7 months time and then probably start this whole process would be a better idea.
So the next question is, excellent session. Can you please throw some light on excellent team setting in detail? That is in brackets, tricks and plans.
See, team setting is very, very important aspect. And a person who wants to really grow your company to the next level, you need to spend a lot of time on team building. In my company, if you look at my own company, we have started this exercise very long back. Even if I travel close to about 20 days in a month, nobody calls me from my office. 60% of my business comes not from the consulting and training business. It's from the other division. But we have built a team over a period of time. So what we have done was that I've done a lot of mistakes. Personally, if you ask me, we have done any entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur would have done hundreds of mistakes before they actually get into the right kind of frame of mind. So if you ask me, especially on the people front, we've made enough and more mistakes. So if you look at way back in 2005, 2006, that's when we realized there are a lot of things that we're doing which is not correct. So we quickly did an analysis to figure at that point of time, we had close to about 80, 85 people come and go. They came to work, they left our company and all of that. And we did a small analysis to figure out how many people are leaving, why are they leaving, and how many people did we fire. So we understood that only about 2 people whom we fired, they say don't come to work from tomorrow onwards because of integrity issue. There's some cash mismanagement, some kickback, some commission, some fraudulent activity. So we fired 2 people. 70% of the other people that we actually left in our company because we found that those were all wrong recruitment. They are not fit to our job, but we hired them because somebody recommended, somebody told, we hired them. So any business that you want to get into it, every job is a combination of multiple tasks. So who will fit into the right kind of a task is something that you need to do. After that only, I personally went and figured out what kind of learning that I can have. So I went and specialized on the psychometric. How do people behave? What kind of people will set into what kind of a business? For example, a person who's leading the sales team need to be very aggressive, quick in decision making, target oriented, and you need to move on. You cannot sit in the office. Whereas if I hire somebody who doesn't want to go meet people, who doesn't want to go out, who doesn't give result, and if he always likes sit in the office, can I put him in the sales? No. But how do you know who is fitting to what? So you need to do the psychometric. There are very interesting tools available in the marketplace. First thing that you need to do is who will fit into your job. Like you're running a company, you have multiple departments, sales, purchase, finance, customer service. So what kind of a person actually made really successful? If you look at department, best salesperson yaar hai. What way, why is he best? He's got about 4 or 5 quality. Those are the quality that you need to look in for. So recruitment advertisement paper they would have asked, we need 5 years experience, this qualification, good in this or 10 point. In whom are you recruiting, you need to be very clear about whom are you recruiting first. Once you recruit the right person, it is relatively easy to train them.
Thank you, sir. So we are up. The time is up. It's already 12:18. So we'll wind up the question answer session. We'll try to get the answers eventually from you later. I would like to thank you for your valuable session, your extremely valuable piece of advice, as well as your detailed analysis on how to grow or scale up the business. I would like to thank Brother Nassar once again for the session. I hope you enjoyed the session, sir, and I hope all the attendees also enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Jazakallah, Brother Khalid and Jibran and all of you. And I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And inshallah, I wish all of you all the very best. And thank you very much for this.
Thank you so much, sir. I would like to request you to send the presentation as well to the team so that we can share it with the attendees. They have been.
These are all bigger files. Let me see, because my technical team is not there. Once the office gets restarted, you can send me a mail. I'll suppress this file and send it across.
Sure,
Brother,
sir.
inshallah, we will upload this video so the participants can view the video in our Facebook and YouTube channels.
Yeah, probably you can take a photograph of the slides.
Yeah, so that shouldn't be a problem. And Jazakallah, Brother Nassar, it was a wonderful session. And
Thank you, Khalid bhai.
long time, I personally wanted to scale up my business. I want to grow on a bigger scale. But now I really understand what the scale up means. I know what the real meaning of scaling up, or how to grow, and what are the risks involved. Inshallah, I will come back to you personally to take my scaling up to the next level, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan for the session. It was wonderful. Alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much. Bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.